Look for threat cues. Now, this can be obvious, say as someone's taking a step forward or raising their voice, larger hand gestures. They can be more subtle. Doesn't matter. You don't have to make sense of it. Use that as your message to look for a way to get safe. Too often what happens is we stay in a situation too long. And then when they do investigations and people talk about it and whatnot, and they start to really think about it, it's the same story again and again, which is, yeah, now that I think about it, there were signals if I would have gotten out sooner or done something sooner. Get safe. Figure it out later. These next few are everyday things that we do. When things are not tense, so that they become habit, so that when we need them, they just flow naturally. First thing I want you to do is visualize, and we're going to work on this later on today. Visualize the most important things or people in your life. Who would you run into a burning building to protect? Then I want you to give it a label. Emily likes get off me. Okay, whatever works for you. Something that helps you feel defiance, spite. And then whenever someone comes at you, you're going to move and also bring that image into your mind and also say those words. Okay, always all three, always at the same time. Another thing you can do, again, during normal everyday times, play what if. Online, we have different ways to play what if. This is one example. Pick someone out of the crowd, ask yourself, what would I do if they attacked me? What would I do? Where would I go? If you start to feel tense inside, tell yourself to calm down and continue to play that out in your mind until you're home, behind locked doors, feeling safe. Now, don't do anything, like don't give anyone the evil eye, right? This is just your own little role play. Okay, what you're doing here is you're practicing how to be alert and calm and dangerous and how to think on your feet. It's like inoculation against freezing and fear. Recognize stress. I don't care so much about the labels. What are the sensations that go on in your body when you start to feel stressed out or there's danger? If you don't hear so well, you get tunnel vision, and you start to shake, get tight. What else happens? Dry mouth. We don't speak so well. We want to say one thing, something else comes out. We start to repeat our words. And maybe you can think, what else happens inside your body? When those feelings start to visit you, don't resist them. Welcome them. They are your primal self sending you signals to say, hey, pay attention. Let's get out of here. And listen to that. Situational awareness, we got to put our phone down, right? Other things you can do. Walk into a room, clear the doorway, stop, look around. Leave a building, stop, look around. Park at an intersection. Look around outside of the car. Play the I Spy game. I want you to always trust your instincts, your gut, your intuition. That is your primal self. It's picking up on so much more than we register. We don't have to make sense of it. Get out now, figure it out later. This leads to something you call the veto rule. It's powerful medicine. Now let's talk about being switched on, different ways to say this. So our body has natural cycles, right? We have the circadian rhythm. It's a 24 hours long, we're awake, we're asleep. Inside that, about 90 minutes, we have the ultradian rhythm. We're awake, but we're more or less alert. Inside that, we switch between being switched on and switched off, focusing outward and inward, okay? Which they also call diffuse thinking. So you're focused outward, you're taking in the world. You're alert, you're paying attention. And this is where you're wired. You don't have a choice. Your brain's going to switch, and you don't know it, but you're now making sense of that information. You're digesting it, making connections. And that is when you're zoned out. This is where they can catch you by surprise. You miss things. Knowing that can occur when the situation demands it, have that conversation with yourself. I've got to stay switched on for just a few more minutes. Okay. Now, the longer you do that, you have to make up for it. Okay. You can't train yourself to be switched on all day. You need that diffuse time. So give yourself that time. And also realize that when you're tired, you need more diffuse time. When it's a stressful day, you need more diffuse time. If you're working with someone, especially where you guys are working, you tag team. One person stays switched on, the other person zones out, and then switch back and forth. What's that? Watch my back. Never trust technology. Like, I'll use it for sure. Technology is awesome, but it's never going to change my behavior, make me more brave. And I'm sure you've all seen it. Somebody takes their phone, they run out on the street, and now they're going to win that argument. Haha, I got you on video. No. And besides that, batteries die, cell phones lose signal, tasers won't penetrate some clothing. I've seen a guy walk right through bear spray. It's the level of commitment. Let's talk about submission. Never submit. Let's get that straight. Now, so what are they going to do? They're going to threaten your child unless you do what they say. Okay. You're going to go to the bank machine, you're going to give me money, but if you do that, you're going to be okay. Don't do it. Where they confront you is the primary crime scene. Secondary crime scene is where they find the body. They will lie, they will manipulate you. What they want to do is they want to take you from where you are to someplace more isolated so they can do what they really want to do. Fight like your life depends on it. It does. Now, it's an imperfect world. Sometimes you have to bide your time. Got a couple of short videos here. This first one is a lady has to bide her time. So she eventually calls for help. She calls 911, but she's pretending that she's ordering pizza. It even took the 911 operator just a minute to catch on, right? This second video is almost the same. The reason why I like it is because it's a good example of there's always one more thing you can do. And when all hope is lost and there's nothing else you can do, there's always one more way you can do it. The lady buys her time, but what she does is she orders pizza and she calls for help on an app to order the pizza. So let's talk about some legal stuff. It's kind of a big question. Do you have the right to actually defend yourself? You do. It's there in black and white. Here's how it goes. You can defend yourself, someone else, even if you don't know them. Your property, someone else's property, even if you don't know them. All you need is to determine two things. One, you feel it's necessary. And two, that you use appropriate action. Also, sometimes an older version of the term is use of force. Is that clear? Okay. Not so much. Here's where it gets messy. What is your definition of appropriate action? What is your definition of necessary? And will a court agree with you? Well, here's another problem. Any assault, any attack, any physical confrontation is very dynamic. And what happens under extreme stress is we lose that sense of time. And so we're here, the situation is going on, but it's evolving and we think we're acting appropriate, but the situation has spiraled over here and you're no longer acting appropriate. So the other side, they're going to say, you fought back too hard. You did too much. You were too aggressive. It's like, think of it like someone comes at you and you have to punch them to get away. And so you're punching and it works and they stumble backwards. And just to make sure you've got a good and clear path to safety, you punch them a couple more times and you're gone. And the other side says, okay, I get it. Maybe you had to punch them, but did you have to punch them that many times? Here's another problem. Now, we call this imperfect self-defense. And I don't care so much about the terminology. What I care about is how it affects us in real time. So, call it imperfect self-defense. The other side could argue that you misinterpreted the situation, so you never were acting appropriate. The whole thing is your fault. And you can think of it like this. You're sitting beside someone, they see a bee flying around, they swat it. You think they're going to try to hit you, so you push them away, they fall down and twist their ankle. And they're like, what are you doing? And you're like, I have to protect myself. And they're thinking, no, you were never in danger. The reality is, approximately 1 out of every 2 people that defend themselves later have to justify their actions in court. And there's a professional there who's very good at their job, and they're going to tell a different story. They're going to question your judgment. They're going to tell you how many times you were wrong. And that is the very best way to manufacture trauma. So, we need a solution for that. It's called your use of force model for the police. In that moment, when the fight is going on, the way that they keep their time is in the middle here to assess the situation, make a plan, act on that plan, and immediately reassess the situation. And for the professionals who know this, it's next to impossible. We need to hack. When the emotions start to rise, start asking yourself, what is important now? And keep on asking yourself that. What that's going to do is that's going to keep you thinking about the situation and staying current. And that is one of the reasons why we do what we do the way we do it, because we absolutely need to be effective and we absolutely need to be as legal friendly as possible. Write down your experiences, not fact. Facts can be disputed in court. You're going to write down what you think you saw, what you think you felt, how you thought you acted. These are all just your memory, and say this, it's your memory of the event. Writing it down gets it out of your mind, gets it linear. That reduces the stresses in your body. That also helps you remember details. It's okay to edit this as you go. Never say it's fact, but write it down before you talk to anybody, even the police. Ask them for a pen and paper. They'll probably say no, but write that down too. Refer to it before you talk to lawyers, police, courts, friends, anything. Now here's a big one. After that, your emotions will only hurt you. Do not do, think, say anything just because you think it's right, should be right, you know it's true. If you cannot put it down in a court of law with enough evidence for it to stand up in court, it has no room in your life. Every single decision you make is measured off that. Let's talk about communicating under stress. Control your body language like a duck on a pond. Above the water, everything's nice and good. Under the water, your feet are just a-going. So the predator, they enter a space. They are looking to get a reaction out of you. Don't let them see a change in your body language. That's going to send a signal to them, which is, I didn't get a reaction, I'll go look for someone else. As well, when you're calm, you help the other person come back to calm. Anger needs something to bounce off, and you're not going to give that to them. Listen. This is hard. So when we get stressed, our attention comes inward. I want you to turn that around and get curious about the other person. Ask them questions. What are their motivations? What's on their mind? What are their concerns? Really try to understand. Now, listening does not mean agreeing. It might be. What's important now is to just listen. Always give the lowest energy response. This is not the time to prove your point, show how much you know, lay down the law, have the last word, throw out retaliatory replies, things, what people say, things that don't really help, right? Because that's the policy. How about this one? I'm not going to say this again. You're going to say it again. And now you've lost credibility. Some phrases that may be more helpful are, oh man, this must be super frustrating for you. Okay, so how open are you to us figuring out a way through this? Now, for you guys, where you were, one of the very best things you can do is lay down scripts. It could be examples of what happened in the past, and then you role play those. It could be just using your imagination, what could happen, role play those out, come up with plans of how to deal with those. Super powerful stuff, and we could talk about that later if that is something that you want to do. Show sympathy. Everybody just wants to be heard. The very best way to do that is when you're listening to them, you're listening, not talking. When they're done talking, short little pause, and then pluck out from what they said 2 or 3 words that capture their feelings and say those words back to them, those exact words, in a neutral tone. When someone hears their own words said back to them, they know you've listened, and that neutral tone is going to send them the signal that, yeah, you care. And you want to, if you can, capture the emotion, not the facts. Speak simple. When we're stressed, we can't understand complex sentences, big words. By definition, when someone's coming into your office, like they're already overwhelmed to some degree. They're dealing with something they can't deal with on their own. Expect them to not say things well. to misspeak. Never get caught on one thing they say. Back up and think, what's the big picture here? Speak with positive. We also can't process delete. It's like don't, won't, can't. So tell them what you do want. And even if you're a great talker, there's some times when, like, just in this moment, it's just not working out. It is totally okay to say, give me a minute, I'll be right back. But you don't come back. Someone else comes back. The manager, it doesn't have to be a real manager, someone else, the cooler comes in. They stay focused on the problem, not the person. And the other side, what they see is, okay, that person wasn't helping me. Now someone they perceive as a higher authority comes in, they're gonna fix the solution. And the person themselves starts thinking, okay, now instead of just being angry, we're gonna calm down and work toward a solution. And worst case scenario, if you got to keep them talking while you think about how to get out, that's okay too.